Help me, please. I'm dying here." The words came not as a cry, not as a shout, but a whisper, so faint it almost dissolved into the cold evening wind. Benjamin heard it, not clearly, not directly, but somewhere in that quiet moment after the rain, when the world had paused to catch its breath, the sound slipped in. It wrapped around him like a question he didn't know he was being asked. He turned. The street was wet and empty, except for the dripping branches of the mango tree near the corner, the one people said was haunted. That's where he saw her, an old woman, curled like a question mark on a wooden bench. Her wrapper soaked through, clinging to her thin legs. Her hair, gray long, matted, stuck to her wet cheeks. Her shoulders shook. Her arms were wrapped around her, like she was trying to hold herself together, but failing. People passed her. Some glanced. Some turned away quickly. One woman hissed and pulled her child closer. "She's the witch," she muttered. "Her husband died. Her son disappeared. Trouble follows her." Benjamin heard that too, but he didn't move. He stood there, his work shirt damp from sweat and drizzle, a plastic bag of bread in his hand, and pain gathering in his chest. Not for what he saw, but for what he remembered. He knew that look in the woman's eyes. He'd seen it once, in the mirror, when he came out of prison. She looked like someone the world had stopped waiting for. He stepped forward. Her eyes lifted barely, red-rimmed, glazed with fatigue, but still watching. When their gazes met, something inside him cracked. He didn't speak, just took off his coat, the only one he owned, and gently draped it over her trembling shoulders. She gasped. Her fingers gripped the coat like a lifeline. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. Benjamin knelt beside her. "Ma, let me take you home." Her voice was small, dry. I can't walk." "Then I'll carry you." And he did. She weighed nothing. She was all bones and silence. Her head rested against his shoulder as he carried her down the muddy road. The people who saw him stared. Some shook their heads. Some whispered. A few laughed. Benjamin didn't look at any of them. He carried her past the tailors, the shouting mechanics, the children playing in the puddles. He carried her through the part of town where he used to be feared, where people still crossed the street when they saw him coming. But today, he wasn't the ex-convict. Today, he was just a man carrying someone who'd been left behind. His room was small, just a mattress on the floor, a cracked window that let in more wind than light, a single stove, and one chair. He laid her on the mattress gently, like setting down a fragile memory. "Welcome to my home," he said. She looked around, then at him. Her lips trembled. "You gave me your coat. Now your bed," she whispered. "Why?" He hesitated. Because years ago, no one gave him anything. Because he remembered knocking on doors, asking for work, for shelter, for mercy. And all he got were locked gates and stares that said, "You're not welcome here." "Because you need it more than I do," he said. He stepped out again into the cold night with no coat, no umbrella, and barely any money. He bought bread, a small bag of milk, one sachet of tea, everything he had left. Back in a room, he boiled water. The sound of the kettle was the only sound in the silence. He helped her sit up. Her hands were shaking so much. He held the cup for her. She sipped slowly. Then again, her body relaxed a little. "It feels like life is coming back into me," she said quietly. She ate the bread like it was a feast. When she was done, she lay back on the mattress. "Thank you, my son." Benjamin folded a towel on the floor and lay down. The cold from the cement crept into his bones. But he didn't care. He smiled. He felt peaceful. He woke early. His back ached. But the first thing he did was check her. She was still breathing. Her face looked better. Less pain. Less fear. He boiled water so she could wash. When she woke, she looked around in confusion. "You slept on the floor?" she asked. "Yes, Ma. For me." He nodded. She covered her mouth. Tears ran down her cheeks. "No one has done this for me. Not even my family." Days passed. Her name was Agnes. Madame Agnes. Her husband Silas died in a taxi crash. Her only son, Henry, had left for Europe 10 years ago and never returned. She had waited, hoped, but people began to talk. They said she was cursed. When Silas died, they said she killed him. When Henry vanished, they said she ate him. The whispers turned to stares, then stones, Then silence. Her husband's family threw her out. The church stopped visiting. The neighbors stopped seeing her at all. She became a ghost in her own life. Benjamin listened to her stories at night, after coming back from the construction site. He would bring whatever food he could afford, sometimes bread, sometimes just tea with sugar. He gave her his mattress every night and slept on the floor. He didn't tell her much about his own past. Not yet. By the third day, the neighborhood turned. They came knocking. "Benjamin, send that woman away," a man warned. "She'll bring you bad luck," a woman hissed. Benjamin looked them all in the eye. "She's someone's mother, and she's staying." They walked away, muttering. But he saw the way they looked at his door after that, like something inside was rotting. On the fourth day, it rained again. Benjamin came home soaked. In his hand was jollof rice and chicken, hot, steaming, wrapped in nylon. He'd spent the last of his week's money on it, but he didn't mind. He smiled, imagining her face when she smelled it. He reached his door. Stopped. Someone was knocking. Not a neighbor. Not a friend. Not soft. He opened it, and the world changed. 3 black SUVs. Men in suits. Bodyguards with dark glasses. And one man. Tall. Clean. Handsome. "Are you Benjamin?" the man asked, voice shaking. "Yes. My name is Henry," he said. "I'm looking for my mother." He swallowed. His eyes were wet. "Someone told me. You took her in?" Benjamin stared. The rice in his hand felt forgotten. "Come in," he said. "Come and see her." Henry didn't rush. He walked like someone carrying a fragile past on his shoulders. His polished shoes tapped quietly on the wet concrete as he stepped into Benjamin's room. The moment his eyes landed on the mattress, on the fragile woman sleeping there, everything inside him crumbled. He dropped to his knees. "Mama," he whispered. Madame Agnes didn't move at first. Her sleep was deep, the kind only exhaustion can bring. But then, slowly, her eyelids flickered. Her head turned just slightly. Her eyes met his. They widened. She blinked once, twice, and then she gasped. "Henry!" Her voice was nothing more than air, a ghost of hope that had refused to die. Henry grabbed her hands, pressing them to his face. "It's me, Mama. I didn't die. I didn't disappear. I went to Europe. I wanted to make you proud." She touched his face again and again, as if her fingers couldn't believe what her eyes were seeing. "You're alive," she whispered. "My son, my only child." And she broke. Years of silence. Years of pain. Years of being blamed for losing the one person she loved most. It all came pouring out in soft, breathless sobs. Benjamin stood in the corner, stunned. A moment ago, she was just Madame Agnes. Now, she was someone's mother again. Henry pulled her into his arms. She clung to him like a drowning woman finding shore. "I came back 1 month ago," he said. "I searched everywhere. I thought you moved. Then someone told me. A man named Benjamin carried you home." He looked up. Their eyes met. "You," Henry said. "You saved her." Benjamin couldn't speak. His throat was tight. He simply nodded. Henry stood. Slowly, respectfully, he walked over. "You gave her your coat, your bed. You fed her when her own family did nothing." Benjamin lowered his head. I just couldn't walk away," he said. Henry reached out his hand. "Thank you," he whispered, "for saving the woman who gave me life." Benjamin hesitated, then took the hand. A firm shake, a silent agreement, and maybe the beginning of something else. Henry turned to the door. "Bring the car," he said to one of his guards. "We're taking my mother home." 2 black SUVs moved forward. Inside, Henry lifted Madame Agnes gently, as if afraid she might break. She leaned into him, crying softly. "My son, my child, you came back." Before stepping into the vehicle, Henry turned. "You're coming with us," he said to Benjamin. Benjamin blinked. "Me? You think my mother will leave you behind? You think I will?" Benjamin looked at the cracked walls, at the mattress, the stove, the small life he had built out of nothing. He packed his few things into a small bag, some shirts, a toothbrush, and a torn Bible. The SUV door opened. Henry placed Madame Agnes gently inside, wrapping her in a warm blanket. "Sit beside her," he told Benjamin. "She'll be calm if you're close." Benjamin obeyed, still numb, still unsure if this was real. The convoy of cars rolled out. The streets passed by, muddy, broken, familiar. And then, Everything changed. They arrived at Victoria Island. Benjamin stared out the window like a child seeing the ocean for the first time. Tall buildings, bright lights, clean streets, security gates, and then the mansion. Massive, white walls, palm trees lining the driveway, a fountain that looked like something out of a movie. He felt his heart stumble. Maids came rushing. Guards stood at attention. Everyone bowed to Henry. He didn't just live here. He ruled here. Henry pointed to his mother. Take her to the master bedroom. Give her everything she needs. The maids guided Madame Agnes with care. She looked around in awe, tears still in her eyes. Benjamin stood outside the SUV, his bag in hand, not knowing where to go, what to say, or even how to breathe. Then Henry turned to him. I'm not finished with you, he said. Benjamin tensed. Henry stepped closer and said something that made Benjamin's knees nearly give out. Starting today, you're no longer a poor man. Benjamin was speechless. Sir, I don't understand. Henry smiled, a slow, emotional smile. You helped my mother before she even asked, he said. Now let me help you. He led Benjamin through the mansion. Every step felt unreal. The floors shined like glass. The air smelled like wealth and soap and power. Paintings, sculptures, chandeliers. Benjamin felt like a mistake inside a dream. They reached the living room. It was bigger than his entire compound. Sit, Henry said. Benjamin hesitated. It's furniture, Henry added. It won't bite you. Benjamin sat. The cushion was soft. Too soft. Henry pulled a chair close. My mother told me everything. How she was called a witch. Thrown out. Left alone. And how you found her. Benjamin looked down. I couldn't let her die alone. That, Henry said, is what makes you different. He leaned forward. Tell me your story. Benjamin froze. His chest tightened. But something about Henry made him feel safe. So he began. I wasn't always like this, he said quietly. I had a degree. Accounting. A job in a bank. A wife. A daughter. Henry blinked. What happened? Benjamin swallowed. She left. My wife. One day, I came home, and there was a note. He paused. She said my daughter wasn't mine. She ran off with someone else. Took everything. Left me with nothing but that note. He laughed. A small, broken sound. I thought that was rock bottom. But I was wrong. He continued. A few months later, someone at the bank stole money. Used my login. My desk. My name. The system pointed to me. I was arrested. Henry sat in silence. No evidence. But no mercy either. Benjamin's voice cracked. 5 years in prison. When he finished, Henry stood. His face was tight. Eyes damp. Benjamin, you suffered. You were punished for a crime you didn't commit. You lost your family. Your name. Everything. He placed a hand on Benjamin's shoulder. But your pain didn't destroy your heart. You still chose kindness. You still saved my mother. He walked to a drawer. Opened it. Handed Benjamin an envelope. Benjamin opened it with shaking hands. Inside, an offer letter. Hentech Global Solutions. Position, accounts officer. Benjamin stared. I don't understand. You're hired, Henry said. You will work for me. You're not a laborer. You're an accountant. A graduate. A man I trust with my mother. I will trust you with my company. Benjamin covered his face as tears fell. He had no words. Say nothing, Henry said. Just accept it. And then, one more thing. Henry pointed to the stairs. Follow me. They climbed. Reached the top floor. A long hallway. A wooden door. This, Henry said, is yours. He opened the door. Benjamin gasped. A queen-size bed. Thick curtains. TV. Wardrobe full of clothes. A private bathroom. This is your room now, Henry said. Benjamin stepped in like he was stepping into someone else's dream. And then, Henry said one last thing. Words that would stay with Benjamin forever. You will never suffer again. But peace is never permanent. A maid came running. Sir, it's Madame Agnes. Something is wrong. She just collapsed. Henry didn't speak. He ran. Benjamin followed. The dream had just begun. But now it was cracking. The scream came before the silence. Mama! Henry was already kneeling beside her when Benjamin reached the living room. Madame Agnes lay motionless on the soft white rug. Her eyes were closed. Her breathing shallow, broken. She looked smaller than ever. like the rain had come back and taken her with it. Two maids hovered beside her, frantic. One ran for a towel. Another stood frozen with a bottle of water in her hand. "Call the doctor," Henry shouted. "Now!" Benjamin dropped to the floor, kneeling beside them. "Let me help lift her head," he said. Henry nodded quickly. Together, they supported her frail body, but her eyes wouldn't open. Her lips moved, forming something too faint to hear. "Henry," she whispered. "I'm here, Mama," he said, tears already spilling. "Please don't leave me. Not now. Not again." The seconds dragged like years. Benjamin watched her chest rise slowly. Too slowly. The same way he had found her under the mango tree, half gone. Only this time, it was worse. Because now she had something to lose again. Someone to lose again. The sound of footsteps came like thunder through the hallway. The doctor arrived, dressed in black, a nurse beside him with a medical bag. He dropped to his knees without a word. "What happened?" he asked. "She collapsed," Henry said, his voice shaking. "She was fine. Then she just fell forward." The doctor checked her pulse, her breathing, her skin. His face didn't soften. "Her body is weak," he said, "severely malnourished. Her heart is under stress. We need to move her now." "To the hospital?" Henry asked. "Yes, immediately." Rain had begun again as they placed Madame Agnes gently into the SUV. Henry held her. Benjamin sat beside him, silence pressing against his chest like a stone. The city blurred past them. Traffic lights, wipers, sirens. "Don't die," Henry kept whispering. "Don't leave me. I just found you." Benjamin clenched his fists. He remembered how she looked that first night, sipping hot tea like it was life itself. He couldn't lose her now, not when she'd just begun to smile again. The private hospital on Victoria Island opened its gates before the SUV even stopped. Nurses ran out with a stretcher. The doctor shouted commands. "Emergency unit, clear the path." Benjamin and Henry followed the stretcher down the white corridor. Machines beeped in every room. Bright lights burned overhead. Madame Agnes looked lost among the tubes and wires. A doctor placed an oxygen mask on her face. Another inserted in 4. Monitors lit up. Alarms beeped once, then calmed. Henry stood still, barely breathing. Benjamin placed a hand on his shoulder. "She'll fight. She's done it before." But even he wasn't sure this time. She had survived poverty, abandonment, and street rain. But could she survive this new world? This softness? This sudden return of love? Or was her body already too tired? Minutes later, the doctor approached them. "She's stable," he said, "but weak. She needs rest. If her vitals hold overnight, she'll recover." Henry dropped into a chair. His head fell into his hands. Benjamin exhaled for the first time in hours. "Can we see her?" "Yes, but don't wake her." They stepped inside the room together. It was quiet, clean, cold. Madame Agnes lay still. Her chest moved. Her fingers twitched. She was alive. Henry walked to her side, sat gently, took her hand. "I'm here," he whispered. "You're safe. I won't leave again." Benjamin stood on the other side of the bed. The two men looked down at her, the woman who had saved them both in different ways. After a while, her eyes fluttered open. "Henry!" He leaned forward. "Yes, Mama." Her gaze drifted to Benjamin. "You," she whispered, voice dry. "My second son." Benjamin felt his throat tighten. "You carried me when no one touched me. You gave me food when I had nothing. You gave me hope before I even asked." Henry looked from her to Benjamin. "My mother is alive today because of you." Agnes smiled weakly. "Don't forget him," she whispered to Henry. "Promise me. Don't forget the man who saved your mother." Henry gripped her hand. "I promise, Mama." Her hand relaxed. She drifted back to sleep. Outside the room, they sat together on a bench. Henry didn't speak for a while. Then he turned to Benjamin. "There's something I must show you." Benjamin looked at him, confused. "Show me what?" Henry stood. "Come." They walked down a hallway and into a private office overlooking the city. Lights sparkled in the windows. Legos pulsed below them, unaware of the storm above. Henry opened a drawer, pulled out a brown folder, laid it on the table. Inside, papers, bank statements, phone records, signed agreements. Benjamin frowned. "What is this?" Henry looked at him. His face had changed. My father didn't die by accident, he said quietly. Benjamin blinked. What? He was murdered, Henry said. And the same person who did it is the one who left my mother to die. Benjamin felt his heart start to pound. Henry opened the folder wider, pointed to a name. Benjamin looked and froze. The name meant nothing to most people, but to Madame Agnes, it meant everything. To Henry, it meant betrayal. To Benjamin, it meant danger. Chief Udo Wu, Henry said. My uncle. My father's older brother. Benjamin stared. That name. The man who convinced the community that Agnes was cursed. The one who said Henry had vanished. The one who told the family to abandon her. He killed your father? Benjamin asked. He arranged the taxi accident, Henry said. Tampered with the car. Made it look like a random crash. Benjamin's hands clenched. But why? Henry looked out the window. Greed. My father was going to leave everything to me. The land. The transport company. The future. He turned back. And when I left for Europe, they had no one to protect her. Benjamin felt sick. The puzzle was coming together. The stories. The lies. The whispers. And now a truth darker than any he'd imagined. I won't let them win, Henry said. I will rebuild my mother's life. I will protect her. And I will bring them all to justice. Benjamin nodded slowly. Then Henry looked at him, something more serious in his voice. You didn't just help a woman on a bench, Benjamin. You walked into a war. Just then, a nurse knocked softly. Sir, she's awake. They rushed back. Madame Agnes was sitting up, her breathing easier, her face brighter. You gave us quite a scare, Benjamin said, smiling. She laughed softly. I've survived worse. God isn't finished with me yet. The nurse checked her pulse. If she continues improving, she can go home tomorrow. Henry beamed. Benjamin exhaled. You both, Henry said, shaking his head, are the reason I believe in second chances. And they all laughed quietly. But outside the hospital walls, something darker was moving. 3 days had passed since Madame Agnes returned to the mansion. She was healing slowly. Her cheeks filled out a little more each day. Her voice was steadier. She walked with help now, not just hope. The house glowed with warmth again. Maids called her Mama Agnes. Guards greeted her with respect. She prayed every morning. She blessed every meal. And every night, she asked about Benjamin. Benjamin, the man who had carried her from the rain and now sat beside her in a palace. He had changed too. He started work at Hintech Global Solutions, Henry's company. The whispers began immediately. Who's the new guy? Why does the boss trust him? Did he really live in the slums? But Benjamin didn't care. He focused, balanced financial reports, attended meetings, asked questions, stayed late. In less than 2 weeks, Henry was asking him for advice. You don't just work with numbers, Henry said. You have to understand people. Benjamin smiled, awkward but proud. For the first time since prison, he felt like a man again. Madame Agnes grew stronger by the day. She started walking through the garden. She sat by the window in the evenings. She told stories about Silas, her late husband, and laughed at Henry's childhood mischief. Sometimes, when the mood was quiet, she reached for Benjamin's hand. You saved me before I even asked, she whispered once. God will reward you in ways you can't imagine. Benjamin always nodded, never trusting himself to speak, because he had already been rewarded. 3 years passed. Yes, years. Benjamin bought a home. Not as grand as Henry's, but beautiful. A white SUV. A life of dignity. He met Debbie, a financial analyst with kind eyes and sharp wit. Henry met Monica, a tech engineer who walked like she knew the future. Their weddings came like dreams. Madame Agnes walked Benjamin down the aisle with trembling hands and eyes full of fire. People cried. People whispered. This story is like a movie, someone said. And it was a miracle stitched from the rain. Then came the baby, Juliet. Benjamin held her like the world's most fragile truth. But life has its cruel rhythm. Juliet died after 1 week. Debbie broke, screamed into his chest, shattered on the floor. Benjamin held her through the storm, not knowing how to breathe himself. Madame Agnes moved in for 3 months. She cooked, prayed, held Debbie when the nights were too long, held Benjamin when he couldn't move. And when they broke down together, she just said, God is not finished with your story. But years passed. No more children. Doctors said nothing was wrong. But nothing came. Debbie cried in secret. Benjamin started sleeping on the balcony some nights, just staring at the sky. And that's where he was when the black SUV pulled into his compound. He wasn't expecting anyone. No calls. No warning. He stood, watched. The door opened, and out stepped a ghost. Benjamin stepped back in shock. The man walking toward him was older now, thinner, his clothes rough, his face burdened with something more than time. Benjamin's heart stopped. Philip. It wasn't a question. It was a wound reopening. Philip, the man who framed him, the colleague who stole from the bank, the man who ruined his life. Benjamin, Philip said, voice shaking. We need to talk. Benjamin clenched his fists. You should leave before I call the police. I know. I deserve that. But please, just hear me out. I can't run anymore. He stepped closer, slower, like he was afraid Benjamin might explode. I came to tell you the truth. Benjamin didn't move. His chest burned. His fingers trembled. You destroyed my life, he said low. You watched me go to prison. Watch my wife leave. Watch me lose everything. And you said nothing. I know, Philip whispered. And I'm sorry. But I wasn't working alone. Benjamin's world tilted. What? There was someone else. Someone powerful. He wanted you gone. Used me. Threatened me. If I didn't help frame you, he said he'd destroy my family. Benjamin's mind spun. May I come inside? Philip asked. Benjamin hesitated. His body said no. But something deeper, that ache for truth, said yes. He opened the door. Philip stepped into the living room. Say it, Benjamin said. Say the name. Philip closed his eyes, took a breath. I worked for someone who wanted you out of the bank, out of Henry's life. He knew Henry would return and trust you. He wanted to stop that from ever happening. Who? Benjamin asked. Philip whispered the name. Benjamin staggered back. His heart nearly stopped. No, that can't be. Philip nodded, trembling. He threatened to kill me if I ever talked. But now I have nothing to lose. And someone dangerous is looking for you. Benjamin's voice dropped. Dangerous? Yes. You're digging too close. You're a threat to everything he built. You have to leave Lagos. Tonight. Or you'll be dead before the week ends. At that moment, the door opened. Henry stepped in. He saw Philip. Stop cold. Who is this man? Henry asked sharply. Philip froze. Benjamin took a breath. This man knows who destroyed my life, he said. He knows who's trying to destroy yours too. Henry walked forward slowly. Who? He asked. Say the name. Philip shook his head. They'll kill me. Say the name. Henry's voice cut through the air like steel. Philip's eyes darted. Then, finally, he whispered the name. So quiet, yet so loud. Henry froze. Benjamin whispered, no, it can't be, before either could react. The mansion lights went out. Darkness. Pure. Heavy. Silent. Then, outside, an engine roared. The SUV. An alarm. Henry turned toward the window. Benjamin couldn't move. Philip whispered, terrified. He's here. A shadow moved outside. Tall. Black-clad. Watching them. The door handle turned. The front door creaked slowly. Benjamin's heart hammered. Henry whispered, don't move. The lights flickered once. Twice. Then darkness again. Benjamin reached for Henry's arm. What do we do? Philip whispered. If he catches us, none of us leave alive. The handle moved again. The door opened wider. A silhouette stepped in. Benjamin's voice cracked. Oh God, no. The door opened like a warning. 3 men stood frozen. Benjamin with fists clenched, Henry like a statue, shielding his past, and Philip trembling in a guilt-soaked corner. The figure stepped inside with the arrogance of someone who believed nothing could ever touch him. Chief Udo Wu, white agbada flowing, a gold wristwatch blinking under the hallway light. Power in his walk, round his soul. Benjamin had never seen the man before, but every story Madame Agnes had told, every whisper in the rain, was now standing in his living room. He didn't have to guess. This was the man behind everything. The man who made hell look like home. Henry didn't flinch. Uncle, Henry, Chief Wu said, slowly closing the door behind him. I always knew this day would come. I just didn't expect you'd bring your stray into it. His eyes flicked to Benjamin. The ex-con who became a hero. Benjamin didn't speak. Not yet. Philip stepped back instinctively. Chief Wu walked in like he owned the floor. I see the loyalty in this room has shifted, he said, voice calm but layered with threat. And that's a problem. For all of you. You framed me, Benjamin finally said, quietly but steady. Udo turned to him. You framed yourself, he said, by being convenient. I needed a fall guy. You were broke, disgraced, and invisible. Easy math. You destroyed my life. I bought myself time, he replied. That's all any of this ever is, time. He looked at Henry again. You went to Europe to become a man. You came back with a soft heart and this dog by your side. Watch your mouth, Henry said, his voice low. Or what? You'll call the police. They're already listening, Henry replied. Chief Wu's face twitched. What? I've been recording you since you walked in. Udo laughed. You think a tape can break me? No, said Henry. But a confession, plus a signed testimony, plus bank evidence, plus a witness? He turned to Philip. Philip nodded, voice trembling. I already gave a statement. Silence. Then, Chief Wu reached into his abada. Philip panicked. He's armed. A pistol. Black. Smooth. Cold. He raised it toward Benjamin. Henry stepped in front of him. You'll shoot your own nephew? Benjamin asked. I've done worse, Udo said. You shot Silas too? Henry demanded. Udo said nothing, but his silence was louder than any answer. Henry's eyes filled with rage. You killed my father to steal his empire. You lied to your family. You called my mother a witch and left her to rot in the rain. For what? Land? A title? For control, Udo said. You don't inherit legacy, boy. You conquer it. He cocked the gun. Benjamin stepped forward slowly. Kill me then, he said. But know this, the moment you do, your entire world falls apart. Not because I'm anyone important, but because she made me someone worth protecting. Udo laughed. She? The old woman. She is the reason I'm still alive, Benjamin said. She saved my soul under a mango tree. What did you ever save, except your own reputation? That's when the glass outside lit up blue. Sirens. Engines. Doors slamming. Chief Wu's eyes narrowed. What did you do? Henry looked him in the eye. I prayed. Then I planned. Police burst in through the front gate. Guns drawn. Drop your weapon. For the first time, Chief Wu hesitated. Then he smirked. You'll never be me. I don't want to be you, Henry said. I want to bury your kind. Chief Wu's fingers loosened. The gun hit the marble floor. They handcuffed him in silence. Dragged him out. He didn't fight. Didn't beg. But as he passed Madame Agnes' framed photo in the hallway, his expression cracked. Not from guilt, but from the realization that the woman he tried to erase had been the one to bring him down. The trial was national news. A billionaire arrested in the mansion of his own nephew. Journalists called it the fall of Chief Wu. Benjamin sat quietly through every court session, watching a man who once owned judges now beg for postponements. Philip testified under protection. The evidence was airtight. Recordings, documents, old security footage from the bank. Madame Agnes, frail but sharp, came to the final hearing in a purple wrapper and dark glasses. When she entered the courtroom, everyone stood, even the judge. And when Chief Wu was sentenced to life in prison, no appeal, no parole, she didn't smile. She just whispered, Silas, you can rest now. Months passed. The mansion felt warmer. Henry proposed building a foundation in his father's name, one to support children of wrongfully accused inmates. He put Benjamin in charge. You were the seed, Henry said. Now it's your turn to plant. Benjamin moved into a new home with Debbie. They adopted a baby boy. Named him Silas. When Madame Agnes held him for the first time, her hands trembled, but her eyes glowed. She whispered into his ear, You carry your grandfather's name, but you will walk your own path. She died in her sleep 2 years later. A soft night. No pain. She had just finished praying. Her head rested on a pillow embroidered with the words, Grace found me. Henry buried her under a mango tree in the mansion garden. Benjamin carried her coffin himself. The service was quiet, private, sacred. Benjamin spoke at the funeral, not with speeches, just one story, about a day when the rain stopped, and the world was still, and a woman no one wanted whispered. Help me, please. and how that whisper became the beginning of a new life. 3 years later, Benjamin stood before a room full of college graduates. He wore a simple shirt, no script, just one sentence. Kindness will never trend, but it will always win. He didn't need applause, because the reward came long ago, in the form of a trembling hand and a soft voice that called him my son. Some stories don't go viral. They go deep, and if you read this far, it means something in you still believes in second chances. Now do something. Drop a comment, even one word. Tap that like, show this story mattered. Share it because someone out there is still standing under the mango tree, waiting for a miracle to stop. Don't just scroll. Be the person who stays.